Yule and Iolanthe, welcome to People in Legal.
Thanks for having us.
We are chuffed to be here.
We're so chuffed that you invited us to the conference, and we've got some other commitments. So instead, we'd love to tell our community about what you guys are doing. But can I get you guys to introduce yourselves in first instance?
Yeah, sure. I'm Yolanthe Gabri, and I wear several hats in the legal industry. I'm best known for a business called 𝗵𝗵𝘁, which does like social media and comms for legal practices. But our second mutual business is the LexNova Guild, which we are co-founders of.
And I am the principal of 𝗁 Legal, commercial law practice that specializes in technology and energy law. And I'm most well known in the industry as the 2024 AI Consultant of the Year at the Australian AI Awards.
Wow, you guys got my attention when you said the word guild. Can I just click on that for a minute?
When we have people who are like, what? Guild? Like, what are you talking about? Are you some kind of like tankard clanking ale medieval group? And yes, in some ways we absolutely are. So we felt that LexNova Guild was a really fitting moniker for an organization which was for artisans. When we think of a medieval guild, we think of exquisite shoemakers and skilled tradespeople. This is that for lawyers. So people who find their home at the LexNova Guild, and yes, we do call them guild masters, they're typically experts who have left big law. They're big law refugees. They are over that jag. And they are people who are fairly open-handed. They are experts from fields as diverse as maritime law and native title through to criminal law, family violence, and all the regulars. And they want to be in a trusted space where they can work together to say yes to more work. So that's, in a nutshell, what the LexNova Guild does.
What I should say is that what makes us different from the medieval guilds is our keenness to adopt new technology. So where the guilds went the way of the dodo was by refusing to adopt new technology and move with the times. We're putting that front and center with the way that we operate. So we've built custom software built for purpose for our members to be able to work together and remove the friction of collaborating on matters.
That's brilliant. And what's the typical sort of member who would join the guild?
I'd love to give an example of a couple. One might be somebody who is 6 years into their practice. They say they're a family lawyer. They may have 2 team members, and perhaps they're wanting to stretch their wings in a particular part of their business. Maybe they're wanting to do more property law, but they don't have the resources to have someone in-house full-time. So they may want to grow into that space, and they can do so safely, supported by really high trust and responsibility relationships within the guild. So they would decide to take on a property law matter, and they would go into the guild and say, hey, Yule, I know this is what you do. Will you please work with me on this work for this client? So I can say yes to them and honor the relationship I have with the client, retain the culture and control of the client. Client gets one invoice and they get exquisite work. So that's an example of someone who might be smaller. But then we've also got a member who has like 40 in their practice. Did you want to share a bit more about how they use the guild?
So the situation that I had was actually to use that firm, and it was where exactly the situation that Yolanthe described. Someone came to me. I could do half of the task, and I needed a property lawyer to take over the property transaction side. So I did the commercial side, self-managed super fund, these kinds of things is what I was handling. But the property settlement side needed to be handled by someone else. I don't operate a trust account. I'm not a property lawyer, but the client came to me and they just wanted one end-to-end service. So I brought on the other firm as consultants underneath my banner, declared the entire relationship with the client. Client was happy, and that's it in a nutshell. It just operates rather smoothly when you don't assume more barriers than are there in reality.
I love it. It makes the pie bigger and actually means the client's getting better service.
That's right. I mean, part of the inspiration for this was a previous situation where I worked on a quite a large M&A deal that was for a client that had been mine for 5 years at that point, and they were being bought out by an American company. I had all the knowledge of the business, which had really complex intellectual property arrangements. So I could help with the due diligence. I had to be involved, but I also needed an extra set of hands that were specialized in the larger part of the transaction, the transactional documents, all those kinds of things, doing the cap tables. So we could work together on it, and I brought someone in to do that. But at that time, the only way that we could agree on how to make it happen and the timelines that the client required was for the client to sign both of our engagement terms and to be billed separately by both of us. Great experience for both of us lawyers, and the client got what they needed. But at the end of the matter, the client wasn't happy that there was no coordination on how they were being billed because we had no oversight of what each other was doing.
How many members are there in the guild?
We have just under 20, and it's been open since January. It's a bit like our list for lawyers. So we have 2 entry quarters a year to join the guild. It's not for everybody. So there's a fairly rigorous application process, and our board then survey those applications. We see who's a good fit, not just in terms of experience, but culturally. We have a no dickheads policy because we're such a high trust environment. You know, if your first thought when you're thinking about competition and sharing information is to jealously grab your hands to your chest and worry about losing clients, we are not the organisation for you. We are interested in nuance and we're interested in growing together. And in order to do that, you've got to trust people. So it's important that the board vets everybody. And so it's kind of like currently we have 20 principals, 20 partners sitting at a table who are all working together. And it is quite an extraordinary notion. And it is something that we believe is first in market for the legal category, because within our technology, we not only have the facility such that each week, every principal is sent a message, are you red? No bandwidth. Orange, have some bandwidth. Green, you're available for work. So we can see what everybody's work rate is. Moreover, we have a gamified negotiation module within it. So we take this kind of like the stress by forcing the lawyers to negotiate within this gamified backwards and forth, which is really neat because, you know, lawyers hate negotiating with each other. They don't want to insult anybody. And this is not a marketplace. This is not a race to the bottom. This is about great people doing great work together.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like to the folks, I guess, in the SMB sort of space, you just want the access to a range of different skills. And you work right across Australia and New Zealand, or just Australia?
Australia, we haven't got any New Zealand members yet, but we are hoping to get some. The idea is that quite often you do need to work across state. So sometimes we'll have a client that has an issue in, say, Brisbane, and we need to engage a Brisbane lawyer for a part of the work because there's a local dispute, but they're my client, and we need someone that is a local litigator that can pick up the matter and work directly with me. So it's an absolute feature of the guild that we can operate across Australia and hopefully New Zealand as we get some more members, because in principle there's no restriction on how wide we can cast our net.
Yeah. I mean, as a consumer of legal services myself, you want the best of all different worlds and things like that. You want to sort of see, and having something where you can go to a particular place and people can actually pick the best expert to come in and do the work. It sounds fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about Communitas.
So Communitas is the real world extension of what the LexNova Guild represents. And I'd say the theme at the heart of LexNova Guild is the notion of co-opetition. So co-opetition, it could mean a variety of things. And in fact, that's one of the pieces of work that us as a community of progressive lawyers are going to need to do down in Hobart and 𝗵𝗺 next week. It's to work out what co-opetition looks like for us in practice. But effectively, it means Yule and I might both be family lawyers and, you know, in some ways you could see us as competitors, but in other ways we are not. In other ways, we are giving the finger to the big guys and we're doing law in a different way that serves us and powers us and also meets our clients in a way that they would like to be served by a progressive lawyer who has values that may not be those that their parents might have wanted in a lawyer. So as a marketer, I know that real world experiences are what bring people together, build excitement and build momentum around a project. And so I know that every year we need to put on an absolutely stonking legal festival, unlike anything else that's been seen. This isn't your star casino, like, you know, boring awards night. This is not something where people are being paid to speak. In fact, we pay every speaker at any LexNova Guild event because I'm a paid speaker myself, and it's not okay to be asking people to exchange their hard-won skills and knowledge for no dollarinis. And we're not doing that because we're wealthy. This is a startup festival. This is break even. We're doing that because it's the right thing to do. But it also sets a baseline for, okay, this is one of the values that we have as an organisation. Does that appeal to you as a lawyer? If it does, maybe you want to come join us. So the idea of co-opetition as our theme for Communitas 26 is really a jumping off point. It's a departure point. we want to create experiences that are strange and weird and allow us to think differently about ourselves and about our role as lawyers. The only thing that lies between chaos and in society and the law is us as the lawyer. And I think that sometimes in between the BAS and the calls to the ATO and the crazy client that you want to put on do not call, we lose that sense of who we actually are in the scheme of things. It's very important. And so all the provocations and the ideas that will be shared at Communitas will be about reconnecting with purpose and elevating, okay, we don't need to be scrabbling around in the dirt together thinking about 6-minute billable hours. Like we can do more as a group and we can be better to ourselves and the people that we serve. So some of our speakers include the GC for Mona Museum, and she's going to be speaking about her representation of 𝗁𝗂𝗁𝗂 in the Ladies' Lounge case. It's this idea of where the law bumps up against art. Interestingly, we've also got Greg Barnes talking about jury reform. These are powerhouses of speakers who have embraced what the LexNova Guild offers. We've got panels like Maiden, Mother and Crone, where we have different principles, and it's not the age of their practices. It's not them that we're like thinking about as in one's a maiden who's young, one's a crone because she's old. It's actually the age of their practices that we're looking at and the life cycle of the practice and how competition can support all three of those times. So it's going to be wild and woolly. It's going to be an adventure. There's nothing like it. I'm so proud of it.
I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, what am I missing out on? It's like, seriously.
What are you missing out on, David?
I know. I'm
man.
bummed. I'm bummed. I'm so bummed. That sounds great, actually.
We've also really put a lot of thought into the experiential aspect of conferencing because we've all been to like really dull ones and our friends make the dull ones good. Like law is all about community. But on the Thursday night, we have like a VIP aperitivo welcome. But on the Friday night, we actually have something called Dark LexNo, which is a bit of a play on the Dark Mofo Festival. It is a black tie masquerade ball, and we have some envelope-pushing, quirky and strange events that will play out across the course of that evening. And then on the Saturday, we have either a trip to Sullivan's Cove Whiskey for those who would like a whiskey flight, or we have a tour to Mona as well. And there is, by any standard, no festival that is as interesting as that in Australia. For lawyers, none.
I go to a lot of different things, and I might actually argue that it could be like something that's the most unique one in the world.
So we've got a small team because we're a startup, LexNova Guild, but we are doing the very best with what we have, and we think that we'll have created something really special that we're just going to build on.
No, I can see this building, and I think you've got a really great idea here, and I think myself, like for all kinds of firms, there's value in that and sharing knowledge and around running a business, around actually practicing law, the collaboration you've got around technology, what's actually out there and what's happening and what people can use. From standing back here, I think myself as one of the legal technology vendors or a supplier to law firms, you'd want to be in on this.
Yeah, so we've got the vendors have really come to the party as well, which is, I think, pretty brave of them given how new and fresh we are. We've got 𝗁𝗂𝗀𝗃 coming. They're one of our sponsors. We've got Jude, who are a new AI tool for lawyers, and I'm using it myself. So, and really, really getting into it. And, I'm somewhat of an AI and law expert. And we've got 𝗿𝗵𝘃 because we need, well, not just us, but everybody needs to get on the bandwagon with some kind of AML solution. And we actively went out and sought an AML service provider for our members because, what we really want to be able to do is serve our community with the things that they need. And this is exactly why the sponsors and our community are meeting there, because it's not just I'm taking a morning off work to go and have, some CPD and talk to a couple vendors who might happen to be there. This is, we're really trying to make it a collaboration between our members and the vendors themselves. Like we're trying to solve each other's problems.
And I think that when you choose to do a creative event, it actually gives the vendors the breadth to think differently about what am I actually going to bring to this for the delegates, because we've got a couple of really exciting brand new experiences from those vendors that they've brought to Communitas. And I like to think, or I like to think that they're doing that because the other things going on are also going to be like more than a pen and a lanyard. Like there's some really interesting stuff happening. And we've also had really great support from small businesses. We had a support category, and actually I'm repping James from 𝗪𝗵𝘁 right now. He was the very first person who came on board to give us cashola to begin to run the festival. So there was like a category. It was sub 2K, and it allowed small businesses from across Australia to actually, we were so grateful to come on board. Help.
And 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗄 Legal came in right over the top.
Karen.
Karen really didn't flinch, didn't blink. Guys, I'm in. Let's do it.
So it's a really nice, it's a really great show of faith from the grassroots community of people who are, nobody's like wildly flush with money at the moment, but that coming together is something that is really critical, I think.
We love what you guys are doing. We're right behind it, promoting it out there, and because I just think it's great. I mean, as I say, I'm looking at this very selfishly from a consumer point of view, and thinking it's going to make better level of service, better level of expertise. If law firms can access information, collaborate better, I think it's a better result. And it sounds like you're bringing some folks together that support each other and work together and things as well. So hats off, totally.
What's central to the entire concept is the idea that lawyers are people, and the reason most lawyers go into private practice, as in they start their own firms, is autonomy. But that doesn't mean that they leave somehow all of their years of expertise when they exit big law. But what it does often mean is that they get siloed, and resourcing becomes an issue. The feast and famine cycle becomes a bit more extreme of workflow and finance. And so what we realized was that lawyers actually can help support each other in their own practices. Sometimes I don't feel like I should need to either hire someone new or go into partnership permanently with someone, when we can do that on an ad hoc basis as the work fluctuates. So that's at the heart of the concept, and that's why you can only do that if you are open-handed and you are willing to take a different approach and let people collaborate with you in ways that suit them. So we've really just wanted to set up some kind of environment as a community and as software that enables that kind of collaboration.
Sounds fantastic. I wish the Grace and I were there. We are totally behind it and that sort of stuff, and looking forward to seeing all the pictures and all the outcomes of the conference itself. So thank you guys again very much for actually involving us in this, and we'll look forward to going to next year's conference.
Absolutely. We're so delighted that people in legal and Novum are interested in LexNova Guild, and we look forward to involving you as a podcast on site in 2027 onwards. We already have a site for our next year's event, and it's as kooky as the first one. A hint to the listeners, it involves a lot of bluestone.
Wow.
So whoever we see at 𝗪𝗵𝘁 next Friday, we see, but we have extensive video and photography coverage, so there'll be ample opportunities to enjoy aspects of the experience virtually.
Brilliant.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.